Start of a new week. Hello there. Welcome to The Pulse. We are live on DSTV channel 421, Go TV channel 144. I am Blessed Sogah. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, my most cherished asset in life is my integrity. The words of the Vice President, Dr. Adu Boahen, as his name emerges in a yet-to-be-aired investigative documentary, Galamsey Economy. This afternoon, we will bring you more on the termination of the appointment of Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Adu Boahen, as the special prosecutor is being charged to investigate the new saga. Also, the Electoral Commission is revoking the certificates of 17 political parties without regional and national presence as it begins a massive cleanup exercise ahead of the 2024 general elections. We'll tell you who they are and what the implications are for the national cry of a third political force. And with just 6 days away from the World Cup, the Black Stars head coach Adu Boahen is naming his final 26-man squad. We'll tell you who they are and bring you detailed analysis on our chances at the World Tournament. Don't forget that this is The Pulse. It's always brought to you by Global Communities Digni Lu, Affordable Safe Sanitation. We're streaming live on YouTube as well and on all of our social media handles. It's at JoyNews on TV. I'm Blessed Sogah. Don't forget that this is JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. That's what we stand for. We're back shortly. And this afternoon, Vice President Dr. Adu Boahen says he will not allow anyone to use his name to engage in corrupt activities. While the statement from the Vice President comes after the dismissal of Adu Boahen, the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, who was captured in a documentary claiming investors can pay up to $200,000 in order to meet the Vice President, Dr. Adu Boahen. Siblings of the Vice President would also have to be handed some business opportunities in order to gain his full support, according to excerpts of this latest documentary. These are revelations, of course, that are contained in that yet-to-be published documentary by investigative journalist Anas Anas titled Galamsey Economy. Already, we do know that Adu Boahen has been dismissed, as I was indicating earlier. And on your screens now is a copy of that statement released by the Communications Directorate at the Jubilee House, indicating that the President of the Republic, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has terminated the appointment of Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Adu Boahen, with immediate effect. After being made aware of the allegations leveled against the minister in the expose, Galamsey Economy, the president spoke to Mr. Adu Boahen himself, after which he took the decision to terminate his appointment and also to refer the matter to the special prosecutor for further investigations. And of course, that statement continues to indicate, according to the spokesperson of the president, Eugene Ahin, that clearly the president thanked Mr. Adu Boahen for his strong service to his government since his appointment in 2017, and wished the president, of course, this very embattled appointee, well in his future endeavors. So, well, we do know that Adu Boahen is not the only one in this. Of course, we know that there are more allegations of such nature that's been leveled against the Vice President in that documentary. In a previous announced documentary titled Number 12, former GFA boss, for instance, Kwesi Nyantakyi, had alleged that he could arrange a meeting with Dr. Adu Boahen if investors paid him $3 million in a bid to win juicy contracts. So based on that, the Vice President himself has been, of course, reacting to all of these allegations with respect to this very latest documentary, Galamsey Economy. And of course, the Vice President indicating there on Facebook and other handles of his on social media that his attention has been drawn to a video by Anas Anas posted, quote, on a social media handle showing the Minister of State for Finance, Mr. Adu Boahen, apparently using my name, inter alia, to peddle influence and also collect money from supposed investors. I would like to state that if what the minister is alleged to have said is accurately captured in the video, then his position as a Minister of State is untenable. He should be dismissed and summarily investigated. The Vice President continues to indicate that I'm not aware of any of such meetings held by Minister Adu Boahen or supposed appearance fee, which of course in that documentary allegedly was paid to the Vice, would be paid to the Vice President. My most cherished asset in life is my integrity, and I'll not allow anyone to use my name to engage in corrupt activities. The words of the Vice President there. Well, we know that Charles Adu Boahen himself, we're getting a sense that he may be responding in a few hours or from now, but we still are waiting to confirm that. So let's broaden the conversation here and bring in some reactions which are already greeting this. Let me first of all tell you about Mary Ada. She's Programs and Research Officer at the Ghana Integrity Initiative. We also do have Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, MP, Tamale Central, and a member of the Public Accounts Committee in Parliament. Ni'ama Adi is a lawyer and lead fellow at Center for Social Justice. Thank you all for joining us here on the polls. I'd like to start off with you, Mary, if you're on with us. Of course, Ghana Integrity Initiative has worked a lot around ensuring that there's transparency and accountability in our governance process. Looking at the snippets of what we're getting and the reactions coming through from the Vice President, that he cherishes his integrity, how do you feel that the Vice President should be demonstrating that more to the citizenry, knowing that he's under a lot of scrutiny now following the expose?
Thank you. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to the other panelists and to your viewers. I believe that for the first time in our lives as a people, this is an opportunity for the Vice President to show and demonstrate that he really means business by going beyond just the Facebook page to call for a thorough investigation on his own. I am not talking about just writing on Facebook and what the president has done. I say so on the premise that the Jubilee House has in recent past been accused of some issues relating or bordering on integrity or the lack of it thereof. One was previously when some two deputy chiefs of staffs were cited that they had indicated to people that if you were able to give some money, they could schedule any type of meeting for you. The second was when I think they announced this video, the number 12 or so, which talked about the president. And the similarities of these events and the allegations are so similar that it calls for a thorough investigations beyond just sacking the gentleman. I say so because if people want to keep their integrity, like the Vice President has said, then he should, as we continue to say in GI, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. He should go beyond just asking that the guy be sacked and investigated. But then
and that's why I want us to explore the possibilities there. That you are asking him, you are asking the Vice President to go beyond, you're asking the Vice President to go beyond the social media comments. Let's explore the possibilities of what possibly the Vice President could be doing to demonstrate to Ghanaians that indeed he's clean and that consistently some of these allegations that have come up have nothing to do with his office.
They, in the past, may not have had anything to do directly with the Vice President's office. But the presidency has been cited, and these allegations are worrying because they border on the highest office of the land and the reputation and its damage, of course, of the people occupying those offices. So for us, we see the Vice President, as he has indicated, as a man, he is a man of integrity and wants to guard same. So what we would want to see is that you have said on Facebook that you would want this to happen, but then that allegation that is has a potential to tarnish your reputation should be dealt with, and he should be interested in carrying that one out, that I want this issue to be investigated special prosecutor investigate this particular issue because it borders on my integrity. Apart from just investigating what the gentleman has said, whether it's true or not, but then we should have an investigation that centers on this particular allegation that if you have 200,000, you should be able to secure a meeting with the vice president. And I know the state institutions that have the mandate to investigate will do so and do a good job at that.
For instance, we saw the vice president call for the dismissal of Chancellor Adu Boahen. That has already happened. And this is where many are scaling up to say, well, let's have the vice president at least step aside. I don't know what the constitutional implications may be, but for us to indeed thoroughly investigate this, he may have to step aside for investigations to be carried out. Just as he called for the dismissal of Chancellor Adu Boahen, that has happened. There are those who are also siding with a view that this will be the time for the vice president to perhaps step aside briefly, if the constitution will allow that.
I believe the lawyers would speak to that, but unfortunately, I do not hold the view that the vice president should step aside, because I believe in the autonomy of the investigative bodies. And so it is for the vice president to show that the issues around non-interference and also allowing these state agencies to do their work without fear or favor should be supreme in this agenda. And so not necessarily leaving his office to allow the investigation to go on, no, but then he can stay, all right, why not? But the investigation should be seen to manifestly be doing the right things and not being truncated, like we have had some instances in the past where one investigation starts and another agency already comes on board to say that the investigation is concluded. In this case, I believe that the future integrity and the future prospects of our vice president critically lies on what exactly he would do. He has indicated he's a man of integrity. We do not doubt him at all. So it is for that purpose we are calling that he should, as a matter of urgency, ask that this should be done so that we put to bed any issues of doubt in people's minds as to whether he has integrity or not, and as to whether there is a potential of people engaging and paying certain sums of money to be able to physically engage in.
And Mary, I'll be coming back to you for us to look at government's entire commitment to the fight against corruption. But let me bring in at this point Murtala Mohammed, who's also on with us. Of course, the rest of our two other guests, Mary, have some understanding in the law. So for you, Murtala Mohammed, here we are, the calls for Vice President to equally step aside. He's called for the dismissal of Charles Adu Boahen. That has happened. But first of all, your initial thoughts on what's happened, the reaction from the Vice President, and deal with the calls for me.
Well, thank you for having me. Good afternoon. Good afternoon to my colleagues at the other side, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers. If I had you read the statement issued by the office of the president, I think that statement was signed by Eugene Ahin, isn't it?
Precisely.
This gentleman is issuing a statement on allegation of corruption. Barely a year ago, there were serious allegations leveled against him in the matter of a dispute he had with his wife. Your station carried those serious and outrageous allegations. Did the president ask the gentleman to step aside for investigation to be done? No. Barely a year ago, there was an allegation made against the presidency by no less a person than one of the leading members of the MPP in Parliament. And let me add, someone who is putting himself up to be elected as the presidential candidate for the MPP in the 2024 elections, Kennedy Japan, who alleged that for you to see the president, you needed to pay some money. And I'm happy that Mary also made references to the allegations made by the former 2 deputy chiefs of staffs, by the way, who have all been promoted to be ministers of state and they are in parliament. What happened to them? We are also aware of what Anas's expose in the matter of the GFA, in which the presidency, including the president, was cited or allegedly to be engaged in the bribery that is going on. What did the president do? I guess if the president wants us to take him serious, it should not limit at Adu Boahen. The gentleman who issued the statement should be investigated by the office of the special
prosecutor. But for now, let's focus on...
No, we will not focus on it because we are having this discussion because there is corruption. And that allegation of corruption is made against no less a person than the office of the president. I have said on your program that the Flagstaff House, unfortunately, has become a citadel for corruption and that the president himself is an accomplice. Look, all these allegations we have made, I'm not empathizing with Adu Boahen.
It appears we've lost Murtala Mohammed there, but we'll definitely try and reconnect to him briefly. But Nia Mahdi is also a lawyer. He's with the Center for Social Justice. Ni, your take on what's happening, and for you, how do we ensure that justice is indeed delivered to the people of Ghana? And not just the people, but also the minister who's involved now, Charles Adu Boahen.
And good afternoon to viewers. It's quite amazing, and a counterintuitive question that one may ask is that why has the presidency been mentioned not more than once in such allegations by the same investigative journalist Arimea Anas, or Anas Arimea Anas? I mean, if it happens more than once, then you want to think that there is something that we need to know. Because what might be propelling that? Why should it always be that office? Okay, so that is a big question for us to ask. That are they using that office in vain, or there is a real clue as to something that goes on, but just that those things happens occasionally for us to see, just as it is in our hands now. But yes, let's turn to Article 519 of our Constitution to get to the bottom of this. And I read, a person charged with a criminal offense shall be given a fair hearing within a reasonable time by a court. Okay, so on what offense has Mr. Adu Boahen been asked to proceed on leave or set aside or has been fired? I mean, everything we hear, it's by hearsay, as we say, or it's by things that we've read. In fact, the Anas investigation is yet even to be viewed. I haven't seen it. Okay, but I want to assume that the video might have been shown to the president and they have come to a reasonable conclusion that Mr. Adu Boahen must be fired. I've also read a story or a letter purported to be from Mr. Adu Boahen, which says that he has heard of that same allegation, for which reason he is proceeding on leave in order for investigation to go on. Okay? So that which one do we take? Is it a case that he is proceeding on a leave for investigation to go on, or the president has fired him? In any case, the law must be applied fairly and justly to all. And again, if you turn to Article 24,
Niyama, it appears that you're... Yeah, okay.
The public, it talks about public officers that can be put under investigation. And 5B, or let's say 5B, yes, the public officers to which the provision of this article applies are A, the President of the Republic, B, the Vice President of the Republic. Okay, and I want to end there. That's the conduct of public officers. Okay? So that if what we see, the fair trial, as we read earlier in Article 5:17, has not happened because we've not seen Mr. Adu Boahen being charged and being tried in court. But this decision has come up. Is it as a result of what we are all hearing or reading, or there might have been something else? If it is as a result of what we are hearing, then what the Constitution says has not been followed, per my reading and understanding. And if we want to follow it to the letter, the Vice President, who also as a public officer ought to also be inquired. Okay, so I think that we can do the honest thing. But you see, if you expand the conversation, you want to ask yourself that would government run into decisions based on video allegations that have been made, or time will be given for detailed investigation and fair trial in order for conclusions to be reached.
And these are very critical questions that you're raising, and that's where I want to bring in Mary Ada as well. Mary, that brings us to the question, first of all, on the issue of the conduct of the Public Officers Bill, which has lingered on for a while. We've not passed it. Many believe that this is a fine opportunity for us to bring that on and to check such occurrences in the future.
Certainly, I couldn't agree with them more. You know, this is a bill that we have championed since 2013, and it continues to go to Parliament, and then it doesn't get passed. This opportunity then presents itself, and we should not let it pass. I know for a fact that the Attorney General has worked on it, looking at bringing together different issues. One is asset declaration, the next is the conduct of public officers. Then the final part is other related conducts that the Constitution has deemed it fit to act that we criminalize away free with, because it is not criminalized. It's in the Constitution, but we have not put it in there. And so if you remember, the last time it came up, in Shraj's ruling, you realize that they said, even though there were issues, but they could not in any way hold the person accountable for the conduct that was breached. And so this is a clear opportunity for the president to then push this. In the last Parliament, we pushed till it was read in Parliament. Unfortunately, at the last point, because it also has elements of asset declaration, and then people tend to resist when we want them to verify their assets, and also when we want to see public officers who have accepted to hold public office get their assets published. In some of these, we would be able to then determine what the person came with and what the person is leaving office with. The Constitution says upon assumption of office, the law, that is Act 550, also presents upon 6 months upon assumption of office, upon coming into effect, coming together in the conduct, which we believe would be a good thing, helping public officers to delineate conducts that they can involve themselves in, and conducts that then can be elevated to the process of sanctioning if it comes to that. And I believe that we have a good opportunity in here, because now we have the Office of the Special Prosecutor, who would then also be supporting in the criminal investigations and also prosecution. Where Shraj is found short, the Office of the Special Prosecutor would come in. But then with these complementary roles of Shraj and then the office, I think we would do a very fantastic job. If the Attorney General pushes for this law to be passed, and I say if the Attorney General does so, because it is he who is supposed to be championing this bill, even though Shraj pushed for it with support from civil society. And again, let me say that at this point, the president has no business not wanting this done, because when he wanted the RTI bill passed, he championed it and it got passed. And now we have an RTI law. When we wanted the office of the special prosecutor in place, it is one that he championed. We, at the point, were in favor of this, and we went strongly on board to make proposals for the law to have some best practice examples, which we have done. And so this is no different. We want to see some action. If the president indeed wants to ensure that we put to bed some of these contacts that continue to come up, the allegations are too many to sometimes speak to. They come on a daily basis. You are hearing about breaches in conduct. And at that level of the presidency, it is worrying. So it is important that they champion and push this bill quickly, so that we have a bill.
Your final thoughts on the president's and by extension his government's approach and posture towards corruption.
So it has been up and down. Let me say, it's been a lot of talk with little action, I say so. So perhaps maybe 60% of the talk and 40% of action, because I mentioned that they passed in their manifestos in 2016. As for 2020 to 2024, I really do not know exactly what the commitment is to the fight against corruption. It was very brief in the manifesto, which they are operationalizing. But then if you look at the 2016 onwards, they talked about RTI, they passed RTI, and you know, with an RTI legislation, the potential of propelling sunshine into our processes is clear. They talked about bringing on board a special prosecutor to ensure that the Article 88 challenges are kept for now until we have a constitutional review process that takes care of the power of the Attorney General as the sole prosecutor of state. So we were all for it, and they did it. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the results that should be. Then I say that they passed the witness protection bill as well, that should be protecting witnesses of the state who would want to bear witness in certain cases. But then, that we do not see the significant contribution when it comes to logistics and resources to propel action. I say so. We've been talking recently about the Office of the Special Prosecutor, who has not been given the needed resources to ensure that he is doing his work as he should. And it doesn't just end with him. The Shrajes, the Yokos, and others are not well resourced. And then you realize also that there are challenges with some of the issues apart from the resourcing, with how investigations are carried out, and the tendency of interference when it comes to implementation of some of these investigations. I mentioned before that there was an instance where an investigation was being carried out, and before it was the committee started its work, another agency had already concluded that there was no wrongdoing. And so when things like that happen, and you continue to hear pronouncements of, oh, my people are not corrupt, if you have any issues, please come and provide them, then we can work with that. We know this president mentioned in his campaigns that all you need to do is to present an allegation and work would be done on it. And we agree that we should come with a little evidence. Let the state agencies do their work and allow them to conclusively take care of some of the issues that come up. Without that, the rhetoric continues to reign, and we do not see the needed attention to the fight against corruption. When it is a firefighting approach, we achieve firefighting results. We douse the fire, and then we leave it at that, and then it comes up. So you see impunity reigning, and impunity to its highest being what we are seeing as a people. People are no longer afraid, and people's trust, if you have listened to and followed some of the surveys we have put out there, shows that the trust of the citizen of government fighting corruption is very low. It's moved from about 50 to about 70-something%, which is worrying and which we must all work towards changing.
Marietta, I'm grateful that you've been able to spend some time with us here on The Pulse, and I'm told that Murtala Mohammed is joining us via phone this time around. Let me try and reconnect with him. Earlier, Murtala, you were making the point about how the entire government appears to be engulfed in corrupt practices. Hello, Murtala Mohammed.
Hello. I indicated the series of allegations leveled against the president, and I guess the other, panelists have actually spoken on the matter. But the question I ask is the speed with which the president has sacked the Minister of State, taking into consideration the allegations that have been leveled. One would expect that that same speed would have been applied in the matter of series of similar allegations leveled against other members in the government. And I made references to the gentleman who even issued the statement, Eugene Ains. What happened? But the question is, why is it that the president is acting in the manner that he's acting? Is it just to feel safe? And the question you asked as to whether the vice president should also step aside, I absolutely support that position. It is not just the vice president, the entire gamut of this government. And I have said on your program that the Flagstaff House has become the citadel for corruption. You remember the last time I came on the program, in fact, the last 2 times I indicated that the president himself is an accomplice in the galamsey business. And I gave justifications why I think that the presidency is accomplished. If you have a presidency that is working and working effectively, with all the security apparatus and the powers he has at the disposal of the president, there is no way that president or presidency wouldn't have been in the know, even long before Anas's investigation came out. I do know that when Anas conducts his investigations, he sometimes and most often discuss with presidents, particularly this president, because these allegations are made against his appointees. Why is the president acting now? Look, the earlier we just pray for this country, the better. If it has to do with corruption, this government is unwilling, is unprepared, and will never fight corruption. My last point, go and read the 2017 budget statement. Juxtapose that with the NPP manifesto in 2016. Every paragraph in the 2017 budget statement was pregnant with corruption and how they were going to fight corruption. As the years gone by, read 2018, the issue of corruption was reducing. Read 2019 budget, 2020. As a matter of fact, the last budget statement that was presented to us in Parliament, the 2022 budget statement, the word corruption was mentioned in it once. And as a matter of fact, that one, they're not talking about how they will fight corruption. So clearly there is no any preparedness on the part of this government to fight corruption. But tomorrow is very pregnant.
Anyway, we'll leave that for now. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, MP for Tamale Central and also a member of the Public Accounts Committee. Of course, Niamadi, you'd have to forgive me. It appears that we do not have enough time. Obviously, this conversation will continue some time. Thank you, gentlemen and lady, for joining us here on The Pulse. Time now to talk about political development. The Electoral Commission has officially confirmed that it is revoking the certificates of close to 17 political parties which do not have regional and national presence. The parties include, for instance, the United Progressive Party, formed and led by Kumasi-based Kwesi Adai Odike. Of course, we do know that some more parties which will suffer this fate include the Democratic Freedom Party, DFP, which is formed by Dr. Obed Yao Asamoah. There's also the national some other parties, such as the People's Action Party, which is formed by Kwesi Busmuru, and others that may be suffering this fate. Obviously, the list goes on and on. But why is the Electoral Commission imposing this? And let's just roll onto your screens now for you to get that clear picture of the political parties involved. So I was talking about UFP, I was talking about the Democratic People's Party, the United Development System Party, and also we have Every Ghanaian Living Everywhere Party. We have Yes People's Party, YPP, and there's the United Ghana Movement. Beyond that as well, the Democratic Freedom Party, DFP, and the New Vision Party as some of the parties that may be off our books, and the Ghana Democratic Republican Party. And let's talk about the last set. For instance, GNP, which is the Ghana National Party, will be off the books. Power Unity Party, United Progressive Party, Reform, Patriotic Democrats, and then we have the People's Action Party, the United Renaissance Party, National Reform Party, and the United Love Party. These are all the 17 political parties that may be off our books, and of course the Electoral Commission has confirmed that. So what are the implications of this, especially now that there's that push for us to have a third force and also to entrench our multi-party democracy? Joining us via Zoom now is Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission, Dr. Sribo Kweku. Thank you for your time for here on the Pulse. A little later as well, we'll be speaking to Kwesi Buzumuru. His party, the People's Action Party, may be track of the books. But let me start off with you, Dr. Sribo Kweku. What's informing, first of all, the decision of the Electoral Commission to take off these 17 political parties? The belief is that our democracy is burgeoning and that the EC has to support these quote-unquote lesser-known political parties to thrive. What's your take?
Brother, good afternoon. And
Dr. Sribo Kweku, if you can hear me, I was just asking earlier about the decision, the reason actually accounting for this move. It appears that we've lost Dr. Sribo Kweku there. Yes, Dr. Kweku, if you can hear me, we lost you briefly. Can you just take the point for us again?
yes, what I'm saying is that we have been in these democratic parties since 1992. That's about 30 years now. And the law is clear that if you form a political party, you should abide by the political party laws. So we have the Political Party Act 2000 Act 574. That's governing the activities of the political parties. And one of the main requirements is that they should be operating offices at the districts, regions, and the national. So we have given them 30 years, and whether some of them are not complying with the law. So we have decided that those who are not complying, 30 years is enough for them to put their houses in order. So let's check those who are not complying with the law.
Talk about into this final decision. Have you extensively engaged the political parties involved?
Some of them cannot even be located. So there was an APAC meeting that we raised this issue. And Ghanaians, we have always been complaining about the number of political parties in our system. Currently, before the cancellation, we were having 28 political parties, and we have about 15 new parties who are also trying to join the wagon. So we want every party to go by the political party laws. So we went to the field to inspect the political party offices, and the 17 were found not to be complying with the law with respect to operating the political party offices.
Yes, I'm asking about the issue of engagement because we've heard from some of the political parties already and their founders who claim that, for instance, you're being selective in this approach and that they can point to some political parties, for instance, that do not necessarily meet the 2/3 requirement or, I mean, presence in every region requirement.
I thought they were going to challenge that they have the offices and they are being cancelled, but they are comparing with others. Let's talk about them first, because we have other groups who by our findings have made the effort and we are also dealing with them. So there's to follow soon.
I need a bit of a clarity on that. Is it the case that you're giving leeway to some political parties? Is that what you're saying?
The one we went to the field, the result shows we categorize the results into three. The first group certified all the conditions. The second group certified part of the conditions, but we said that let's look at what we can do to them. Then the third group did not at all. So those who did not at all are those that have been cancelled. And then before we even cancel them, we publish issue in the dailies that these parties were found not to be having offices. So we gave them 2 weeks to tell us why the party should not be cancelled. And they did not come out with any acceptable candidates or they have cancelled. The other follow, and when you get there, you also hear from us. So they should talk about their parties, not the other parties.
Dr. Kweko, that's the issue about the financial challenge that has come up. The fact that some of these lesser-known political parties may not have the standing as, of course, the two major ones, the NDC and the NPP. How is the EC intending to... intending to support...
We are talking about the law. We are talking about the law. As of now, the law says that they should be having offices in the district, regions, and the national. And that's what we're talking about it. So whether the financial issue and the rest, the law doesn't talk about that.
So what's the next step? Is there any hope for a political party, for instance, that wants to get things right and has reached out to you after there's official notice? Are the doors still open to them to try and correct the mistakes, perhaps, that they've made in the past?
For that, I can't speak to that. What I know is that the Commission has taken a decision, and I'm just explaining. So the Commission has not come up with any other alternative way, so I cannot speak to that.
How about the political parties that are remaining on the books now? The belief is that they've also been infringing on certain requirements of our Political Parties Act. For instance, some of them are found of not submitting their audits and all of that. These are matters that...
I said we categorize the parties into 3. So we have finished with them.
Sorry, Dr. Kweko, I'm having some difficulties hearing you. If you could repeat the point again.
What I said was that we categorize the parties into 3 based on our findings. Let me say that the law talks about 3 main issues that the political parties should be doing. The first of it is that they should be holding constituency, regional, and national elections under the supervision of the Commission. That's one. The second one is that financially they should be submitting audited accounts and other financial reports. Then the third one is the functionality of them with respect to the party offices. And now our concentration is on the party offices. As I said, this is the first, the first blow that has come. The other blows will be coming.
And the way forward, we know that this is just part of a complete reform that the Commission is rolling out to sanitize the system ahead of the 2024 elections. Are we likely to see any other reforms ahead of the major exercise in 2024?
I didn't get you, so can you come back?
I was just indicating that I guess this is part of a broader reform, a raft of measures taking place before the main elections in 2024. I just wanted to know if there are some more policy measures in the pipeline which the EC intends to roll out before the general elections.
I didn't have said. Are you referring to the supervision of the party activities?
Yes, precisely. Precisely, yes. Precisely, Dr. Kweko. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so like I said, if you look at what we are working on now, is with respect to the party offices. And I said, the law mandates that they should have national offices. And you and I would agree. How can you say that you are a party in the country and you don't have a national office? Then you are also supposed to have offices at the various regions. Can you be operating without regional offices? And the third one is that they should be also having offices in the districts. But now with this, the emphasis is on the national and regional offices. Like I said, when we went to the field, we have come out with the report, and we have categorized the report into 3. So the first group is those that we are dealing with, the 17. Then we have the other second group that is going to follow soon. It is only one group that satisfies all the conditions.
And finally, as the Electoral Commission, do you take responsibility for allowing this to fester? Because we had as many as, I guess, 27 political parties the last time we checked on the website of the Electoral Commission. You admit complicity in this, the fact that you've not enforced the laws enough?
No, starting from 92, the view of the commission was that we need to encourage democracy. So let's allow them to go. That's why we were not cracking a whip. But for 30 years, all those who want to go will have gone. That's why we started cracking a whip.
So what you're saying now is that our democracy is that matured for all parties to have their books right?
Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah, but if you look at some of the... let's talk about... And Dr. Kweku, if I could just coming at this point, look at, for instance, the People's Action Party. This is a political party that spent barely, I guess, less than 5 years of being in formation. Same about some new ones that have also come on stream. They are not the same as, for instance, the NDC and the New Patriotic Party, which may have been formed in 1992 at the start of our fourth Republican framework. So you agree that they may not be starting off at the same time?
No, the law does not talk of when you were formed. And see, one thing that it is a requirement that even before you are registered, even for national certificate, you should have a national office, you should have a regional office, and you have district offices. So whether you were formed today, tomorrow, once you have been given certificate, that means that you provided offices for us. So what are the offices that you use to register? If you were registered yesterday.
Interesting points you're raising there. Dr. Sribo, just hold on for us briefly so we can get, of course, to hear from some of the political parties. I guess you may want to respond to some of the concerns they have. Kwesi Busumuru, for instance, is with the People's Action Party. Mr. Busumuru, you've heard from the Director of Electoral Services at the EC. He says that it's about the law. They're implementing what it is that the law has said. But you claim that you have a genuine certificate to operate and that you have all your offices dotted across the country. Kwesi Busumuru, can you hear me? Kindly unmute so we can hear the point you're making. Mr. Busumuru, can you hear me? Kindly unmute for us so we can hear the point you're making, Mr. Busumuru.
Hello?
Yes, I can
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay. Well, cherished listeners and Dr. Kweku, right. As a PAP founder, this is my certificate that was signed by the Electoral Commissioner.
Just take it. Yeah, right. Okay, right.
Right. And this was the provisional certificate that was issued prior to the full certificate being issued. Dr. Sogah Kweku is talking about is the law, is the law, is the law. When I applied to form my own party, according to the CI, they were supposed to issue me my provisional license in 6 weeks. It took 2 years, which means they broke the law. So I'm surprised that now they're throwing the book at us. And the reason why they're doing all these things is instructions from above.
I mean,
because
the claims you're making now, Mr. Busumuru, I guess you can't provide evidence, so let's not go there.
Because if you look at...
Mr. Busumuru, I would appreciate it if you withdraw the statement you just made. We don't have evidence to what you're saying. I don't think we can accept that on this platform.
I'm not going to withdraw because I'm stating a fact. The EC were appointed by the ruling party. The EC were appointed by the ruling party.
The Constitution, Dr. Sribo, it just
And
comes
number
to
two,
yes. Yes, Dr.
number
Sribo.
before the EC started chasing these smaller parties, they went to Parliament. And Parliament, who are the majority? We have a hung Parliament.
But the point is,
and they screwed up.
you do appreciate, I mean,
Parliament,
I don't want this to be a controversy,
so
but Kwesi Busumur, you do know that per the Constitution, the Electoral Commission is supposed to be independent. So regardless of the appointing authority, just like the Office of the Special Prosecutor, there is supposed to be an independent constitutional body. So I would appreciate if we just move on to deal with the crux of the matters. Do you have presence in all the regions and what it is that the law requires, that you be present in all regions across the country? Do you have that now? I guess that's what we're talking about.
Yes, I have offices in the 16, it was even the 10 regions before they extended it to 16 regions, right? And most of them, the lease, about 3 of them, the lease has expired and we're renewing the lease. And talking about, he said something about we should have the state of our account. I submitted my state of accounts to the EC on 18th October 2020.
For now, let's concentrate on the offices.
Yeah.
I mentioned the accounts as one of the requirements, but I said that this decision is basically based on offices. Now, if he's saying that he has offices, JoyNews is everywhere. He should give you the locations for you to verify.
Okay, yeah, and so that question is facing you, Mr. Busumur. Mr. Busumur, where are your offices? I mean, do you have the list of your offices? Are you sure that you are represented even across the country in the first place?
Yes, and I went there with my
So provide the evidence to the Electoral Commission. Why is that so hard for you to do?
I've already provided the evidence to the Electoral Commission. I'm not in the Electoral Commission right now. Dr. Kweku is sitting there. He can go and get my file, and the addresses are all listed in there. That's the reason why they issued me the license to form a political party. It's all a witch hunt.
Dr. Kweku, I'll come to you. Dr. Kweku, just hold on for me briefly. I'll come to you. Let's hear from him, and then I'll give you the opportunity.
It's all a witch hunt. They failed miserably, and they tried everything, not for the smaller parties to form alliance, to challenge their greedy ways, their failed policies.
Okay, where's the evidence? Back to the issue.
So, I have my offices, and meanwhile, in this day and age, right, these laws about having 2/3 of offices all over Ghana. We use Zoom, we use internet to do businesses all over the world. So why do we still keep this archaic law about having 2/3 is about 181 offices all around Ghana? It doesn't make sense. We live in a technological age that you don't need offices. Sometimes I sit here and I can work from home to America. So do you want to say that we're going to continue this way about having 2/3 of offices all over the world, all over Ghana? It does not make sense. It's all a witch hunt. And it's about time that Dr. Kweku, your issue credibility, as far as I'm concerned, it's zero. It's zero. Because right now I'm so pissed off. It's beyond reason. It's beyond reason.
Are you, I mean, paying?
I even wrote a letter.
Are you paying that you've lost your license?
This is my letter to the EC, asking for extension. October 18th. Appeal for party offices extension, right? They threw all these things away. And according to the laws that Dr. Kweku is saying, we can appeal. And I have appealed.
Okay, so because for the sake of our audience, we need to know what's in that document. So which document are you referring to now? And what's contained in that document? The document you're referring to right now.
It's appeal for office extension, because I told you in the beginning that some of my lease has expired.
Yes, so share that with us so I can pull that to Dr. Sribo Kweku, who's on with us.
I said, this is addressed to the chairperson of the Electoral Commission, 18th October 2022. Dear Madam, appeal for party offices extension. People Action Party extend our warmest greetings and goodwill and hope. The good Lord is keeping you. Our draw to a publication in both the Daily Graphic and the Daily Guide, warning political parties which has not fully complied with Electoral Commissioner's Political Party Act, Section 15(1) Act 574/2000. As a political party, it was part of our agenda to furnish the commission with the rest of the party offices nationwide this year and 2023. However, economic hardship has impacted all of us negatively. We please wish to ask the commission for extension time up to the first quarter of 2023 to furnish the rest of our party offices. We are currently having our national offices in Accra.
Kwesi Bosomoro, are you still with us? Okay.
I think Takrady.
Right. So the extension you were asking for is basically on the issue of economic hardship, and that you admit that indeed you are in default of the law.
I'm not in default of the law.
Yeah, because you don't have the offices across the country.
The party screwed up the whole system. The government, everything is down. Even Joy TV, Joy FM, you're all struggling because of the failed policies of this government. So whatever they've come out with, it's all wishing. They want to get rid of us.
But you're telling us that economic challenge, Mr. Bosomoro, you're saying economic challenges are the reason for which you cannot set up across the country. It has nothing to do with the law.
No, what I'm saying is we need the extension to renew our leases and invite them back again to look at them. Pure and simple.
Democracy is expensive. You should, I mean, don't you have members across the country? Don't you pay dues? How are you managing your dues as a political party?
I have dues. Look, if you look at my financial reports, all the money we've taken from dues, they're all here, black and white. All here. Black and white.
Yeah, and so why not use that money to pay for the offices? You failed to use that opportunity.
No, the offices during the 2020 election, all the offices that we acquired or we leased, right? We made sure it was 2 years, somewhere 3 years, even in Kumasi, Joso, just next door to St. Louis. I have an office there. That was for 4 years. So EC cannot tell me that I don't have, like I said to you, I have offices in 16 regions. The district offices that we acquired around 2020, November, right, before I was disqualified, they are also, the lease has expired. So my argument is, this day and age, we don't need 181 offices, which is the 2/3. Okay. Which is the 2/3. Because look at us. We are talking on Zoom. We are transacting business all over Ghana, all over the world. So this thing about we should still maintain we've broken the law. Meanwhile, the EC, they've broken the law left, right, and center.
Okay, all right. Just hold on.
So many times.
Right, just hold on for me briefly. Dr. Sribo Kweku, a lot of concerns from the PAP, for instance. They are asking for an extension. At least they were before you went ahead to crack the whip. Why are you not being considerate to these political parties which say that they are reeling under the effects of an economic crisis?
Yes, Dr. Kweku.
We were showing you the certificate. We are not disputing the certificate. When they applied for registration, he knew the requirements. He certified the requirement with officer, and that's why we gave him the certificate.
All right.
So the certificates are not under dispute. So the certificate doesn't come in. Now, the law is that he should be operating the offices. It doesn't mean that get the office, once you get the certificate, you collapse the office. It doesn't say so. So what we are saying is that by the time that we went to the field in May this year, they have the offices. Now he's confirming by saying that we are now in a modernity that we can do things online the rest. As far as the issue is concerned, the law doesn't recognize that. The law says it should be operating physical office, not
The law can be
online
changed
office.
by Dr. Kweku and his
Whether the law is
committee.
primitive, whether the law is whatever, that is what the law we are working with. So I was thinking that he was going to challenge us. That there is no law like that.
Just hold on. Just hold on. I mean, just hold on. Let's hear him make the point. Mr. Busumuru, just hold on. Let him make the point, and then I'll get back to you. So, Dr. Sribokwe, yeah.
Then he's accepting the fact that he doesn't have the offices. That's why he has not talking of online offices and the rest. But that's not what the law says. The law is talking of physical offices.
But he sent a petition to your office, which is read to us, indicating that the effects of the economy is beginning to bite at, I mean, not just for him, but his other colleagues who have to dole out cash to rent the places. Yes.
Then the effects of the law, the economy shall allow me to go and steal. So has he broken the law or not? So the issue of being influenced and we have lost our credibility and the rest, that's not what we are talking about.
Yeah,
we are talking about the law.
But he's saying he sent the locations. He sent the locations, indicating when the tenure, of course, or the tenureship ended.
Fortunately,
yeah,
we are talking of regional offices. Joy, you can do this. Let me give you the existing offices, and I believe even today you can confirm whether such offices are there or not. You can confirm that, so that you will know who is there.
That's why I'm giving you sphincters. I'm giving you one in Kumasi, one in the Upper East, Upper West. We have one in Brahafo, and the other one in Savannah.
You have submitted that list to the EC, so allow me to also put the question across so we can all be on the same page.
That's correct.
Yeah, Dr. Kweku, so the issue about the list of where you can locate the offices, is it the case that when you went onto the grounds, you could not locate the offices of these parties?
We went to the field, and we could not even attend for one regional office. I myself went to Western North and Ashanti region. I didn't see any office.
They are all there. The Ashanti region office, you know the St. Cyprian's Catholic Church?
No, but you're talking about the Ashanti region. He's talking about the Western region. Okay. Let's try and shape up this conversation. Dr. Kweku, so one more issue. The calls about the reform in the law itself. The belief is that's the way to go, and that technology has advanced. We should be able to do business regardless of location, isn't it?
Listen, are we talking of the current law or future law?
Possibly. You are the EC, at least.
So now we are dealing with the current law. And the law I'm giving you, Act 574/2000. That's the law we are working with. So unless he's telling us that we have broken the law, we are telling that he has broken the law. So if there's any evidence, he also take us back.
I have not broken the law.
Are you ready to take on these political parties if they decide to take you on to the court?
That's why we first published it in the papers. So, and today's papers, they are also there. So they should take us on, and if they are able to contradict what they're saying, then we are there. Like I told you, I myself went to Western North and Ashanti region. I didn't see the offices that you're talking about. So we are expecting that we want to take us on. Why not? Because we went to the field. It's not that we sat in our office ahead of it to do it. I myself went to the field.
Dr. Kweku, you know the NDC current election, right? They owe the EC over 100 and something thousand. Okay?
Let's talk about your offices. We forget about the parties. Let's talk about your offices.
Okay. Gentlemen, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you, Kwesi Busumuru, and also to Dr. Sribokwe Kweku, Director of Electoral Services at the Electoral Commission. Quite a heated conversation there. You're still with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll talk about the World Cup. And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Black Stars head coach Adu has finally named his 26-man squad for the 2022 FIFA World Cup. Abdul Manaf, Nuruddin, Danlad Ibrahim, and also Lawrence Ati Zigia, some of the goalkeepers that will be representing the national team. So let's get into the list and try and get a sense of what's happening with regard to our national team. George Adu JoyNews with Joy Sports joins us here on the polls. Yep. George, you were there when the action was happening, so yes, of course you have a sense of what's actually going on. And it's sad, and we must put it out there, that our main goalkeeper, in fact, the one who was even deputizing him, they will all be losing out on the competition.
Actually lost out. There's no Jojo Wallacott who plays his football for Charlton. He had a great move from Swindon Town after, some good performances.
What reports are we receiving on that?
He had a finger injury, and the scans prove that he would not be able to recover in time for the World Cup. It's going to take longer than expected.
Oh, too bad for us,
and then that means that the Black Stars goalkeeping department and medical team had to make a decision on whether to take a goalkeeper who's injured to the World Cup, considering and keeping in mind that he is number one. He's really needed. And Richard Ofori as well had an issue as well over the weekend, and clearly the scans also proved that there was some fluid in his knee, and if you followed a lot of injuries when it comes to knee and fluid in knee, meant that it's going to take a bit longer for him to come back to it. So it meant that then two goalkeepers had to drop out.
So let's look at, and that's where I want to start off from. Yes. Let's look at the replacement and the possible implication on the national team and their performance at the tournament.
Yeah, Lawrence Atizigi is goalkeeper, flies his trade in Belgium, Eupen. I mean, I'm talking about Manaf. Manaf is the Eupen guy in Belgium, of course. Atizigi does a great job. He's not had fantastic stints with the national team, to say. He's conceded a number of goals, and so there's a general opinion that because he's conceded a number of goals, he's not suited for the Black Stars' #1 role. But if you look at it into real detail, he's a goalkeeper who's got a fantastic foot, a very, very good ball-playing goalkeeper. And again, if you look at the chances conceded in relation to the kind of opposition that he has played against, he's perhaps been unlucky because he's come up against the likes of Algeria, Morocco in the lead up to the AFCON, and Mali, and so you will not be exactly right to say because he has conceded goals, he's not good enough.
But any options?
An example, you can take De Gea, the goalkeeper of Manchester United, and if you look at his goal and conceding rate, of course, he played like 22 games, he has conceded 17. Doesn't necessarily suggest that he's a bad goalkeeper. You want to look at the number of chances conceded by the defense and do the analysis on how many goals have been conceded, and you can say that. So Atizigi is not a bad goalkeeper. Yeah, he's a good goalkeeper. He plays. He's just not had a great time when he's with the national team. Manaf Noureddine, yes, we saw him play in the Kirin Cup when the Black Stars played against Chile. He had a fantastic game, and he pulled off about 2 saves in a penalty shootout, something that's very, very rare from Ghanaian goalkeepers. So he had a lot of praise in that one, and he'll be very excited to be in.
And George, when this kind of selection is done, the focus now is on the coach.
Yes.
And what may have motivated his decision.
Yes.
Was that really an alternative for Adu?
I think they are great goalkeepers. We have great goalkeepers, all right. But because of having to build a cohesive unit, you're looking at goalkeepers who are good enough and around the system. So it easily got in the likes of Manaf Noureddine and Lawrence Atizigi. Because if you look at the Black Stars over the last 4 years, well, 3 years, they have had opportunities to go in and out. Then the last goalkeeper is the Asante Kotoko goalkeeper, Danladi Ibrahim. It was a huge cry for Danladi Ibrahim to be part of the squad.
Finally, he's made it.
Yeah, he's finally made it. And that's the point.
For those of you,
and for him, somebody who has been through all the national teams, as an under-17 goalkeeper, he was under-20 goalkeeper, under-23 goalkeeper, currently helped the team to qualify to CHAN, even the local Black Stars. So when you look at those analysis and the fact that he's finally got into it, it's great. I don't think with Jojo Wallacott and Richard Ofori, we had the best of goalkeepers compared to our former World Cups and what we have done in the last World Cups. Clearly, there was a bit of a decline in it, but we've got to deal with this one and see where it goes.
George, let's get to this. I want to bring up now the full list of the squad, 26-man squad, comes with a picture of Andre Dedeayu. So it goes without saying, that's the man of the moment.
Not necessarily. I mean, if you talk about our poster boy, the poster boy for the World Cup, look, I think it's Thomas Partey actually because of his performances at Arsenal. But anyways, Dedeayu must be there and is there because he's the captain of the side. And again, he's going to his 3rd World Cup. So he's got a lot of experience. And guess what? He plays his football in Al Sadd in Qatar. and the World Cup is in Qatar.
So the terrain is quite...
Yeah, it sits very well to have Didier.
So let's go to the defenders, I guess.
Yes, the defenders. Yeah, Tariq Lamptey, Brighton. Yeah, we see him play a lot. Alidu Seidu was well placed for Clermont Foot in the French Ligue. Alexander Djikou does his football in France as well for Strasbourg. Gideon Mensah plays for Auxerre. Dennis Odoi plays for Club Brugge. Daniel Lamate plays for Leicester City. Mohamed Salisu plays his football for Southampton. Joseph Edu there, Celta Vigo, and Baba Rahman plays for Reading in the Championship.
Okay, so Andre himself comes up.
Yeah, Andre comes in the midfield. It's Andre Ayew. Al-Sad, Mohamed Kudus plays for Ajax. Fatal Taraku plays for Sporting Lisbon. Thomas Partey, yes, for Arsenal. Antoine Semenyo plays for Bristol City. Elisha Wusu Ghent. We've got Kamal Sowa also plays for Club Brugge. So Kamal Sowa and Dennis Odoi were part of the squad for Club Brugge, who qualified for the first time to the knockout stage, and the second Belgium club to do that. That's that. There's Kamaldeen Sulemana plays for Rennes, Daniel Kopicher plays for Freiburg, Abdul Salih Samet, one of the new faces in that, plays for Lens.
Right.
And there's Osman Bukhari doing his great work there with Belgrade, and Daniel Lefrier Barnier, who plays for Accra.
So that's midfield.
Midfield sorted out there. And you go to the strikers, Inaki Williams for Athletic Club, Athletic Bilbao, Jordan Ayew there for Crystal Palace.
Are we set, and what are our chances? I guess that's the question on the mind of every Ghanaian. Are we really sure that this 26-man squad would make a difference?
Okay, I have to warn everybody, and I want to be very fair with this analysis.
Right.
I think this is the weakest squad we are sending to a World Cup based on what we have. The weakest. I mean, I'm looking at 2006 when we had a cohesive unit. Even though it was the first time the likes of Michael Asian and co, they had played at the youth level, so there was a certain unit.
Right.
And then between 2006 and 2010, we had the Africa Cup of Nations 2008, which we hosted. We had the AFCON 2010, and then we also had the CHAN and the U20 World Cup. So they had played together for some time. And
so the chemistry was there.
The chemistry was there.
Right.
From 2010 to 2014, we had two Africa Cup of Nations, 2013 and 2012. And then they went to 2014. Now, there was a break, because in 2018, we didn't qualify. And normally when the team has bad performances, then it means that there's going to be a lot of changing and wholesale, substitutions and all of that. So once we didn't qualify for the World Cup, it meant we're going to change. In the 2019 AFCON, we're knocked out in the round of 16. That's not Ghana, because we are used to semi-finals. We changed a lot again. And then in the 2021 AFCON, we put out our worst performance of the Africa Cup of Nations. There was change again. And then the qualifier against Nigeria, things begin to change there. So I'd say weakest in the sense that these boys have not been together. They are crying for time, but there's no time.
And the call-up itself to the national team has been subject to a lot of controversy.
Yes, because that has been the order of the day for the Black Stars. Let me take our viewers down memory lane. In 2006, the man who played for Kotoko, who did so well, left the country, Baba Armando. If you remember Baba Armando, he didn't make it into the World Cup squad. Everybody was screaming loud, and he even went on with allegations that people had paid money and all of that. Nothing came out of that. In 2010, you remember Lai Kinson. He was a fantastic player. He was dropped by Bilovan Raivat, and he was absolutely angry.
And we've seen recent reports of
him holding the coach's neck and all. And you can understand Richard Kinson, Lai Kinson, because in 2006 he didn't qualify. I mean, he didn't make it because of technicalities when we played against Senegal at the previous AFCON, and then he was dropped. In 2014, we didn't have so much drama around it, but in 2022, clearly the drama was on Joseph Paintsil, who a lot of fans believe had played well, and scored 6 goals, 5 assists for his club, Ghent, and definitely deserved to be in there. There was also Jeffrey Slop, who has played about 200 Premier League games, who has been a consistent performer for Crystal Palace, played in various positions. They thought he should be there. So at the press conference, that was the question everybody expected Coach Otuado to answer.
His response?
He danced around it beautifully. He said he didn't want to go into players who were not in the squad.
We had the president say, allow the coach and the technical team to decide, but is that the reality on the ground?
Coach Siki Akono, the former man for the Black Stars, in an interview with my colleague Mukhtar Nabila, did indicate that he had challenges having a free hand. The GFA boss, Keto Kweku, was on our platform, and he says that it's never going to happen that the coach is going to have the opportunity to choose anybody that he wants to. So he says there's something called a process that they go through. Now, this morning, Coach Otuado said a big thank you to Keto Kweku for allowing him to be his own man.
Oh, so at least for once.
Yes, you see, what the issue is that when
or it's part of the formalities.
See, when CK was in charge,
right.
CK is not Otto in any way.
Right.
But when CK was in charge, he said he was in charge. When he was not in charge, he says, no, I wasn't given a free hand.
Right.
Coach Ochoa has told us that he's so grateful to Kete Kweku for allowing him to choose the players. And then we asked him the question, so how did you go about it?
Yeah.
He says his criteria is not only performance on the pitch. That means that you can be playing well at club level, but if the technical team did not view and see what you are and who you are as contributing to the team being a cohesive unit, we're really not going to look.
So football should also be about the fans, George. Bring back the love. That's what the FA is seeking to do with this recent, the campaign that we're embarking on. Are we certain that with this kind of a national team, the spirit will be back?
Yeah, the spirit must be back. Because obviously, after we argue about who should be there and who's not there, now we know the players who are going. Nothing can change from here. No. That list that you saw been submitted to FIFA and they've actually put in the system. Coach Ochoa, they say they have about 11 players on standby, but nothing can be done. So it's up to all of us to support the Black Stars as much as we can do. But knowing how heartbreaks have come in the past, I'll say let's be cautious.
But this is it.
Let's be cautious. This is it. Nothing can change.
Okay.
Nothing can change. You know, we have a friendly against Switzerland on Thursday. A lot will happen in the training period before the games and all. But it's about it. It's about it.
What happens if someone drops out at this stage?
It depends on the number and which area. If it's heavily affected, we can draft in one of those on standby, but which FIFA is aware of. But if you look at how it's going, I think the only place we got, I think only 2 strikers. That's one area. If you look at right back, I think we have about 3 of them. Left back 2. So you just look at those areas because it's going to be a tough competition anyway with Portugal, South Korea and Uruguay.
Okay, George, let's wrap up. Any words from the members of the team so far? Yes, I've seen Daniel Kofi tweet. Okay. He's happy to represent Ghana at the World Cup. I've seen Dan Lad as well tweet. There's a picture of him standing in Abu Dhabi at the moment. He's happy. Daniel Free Bani also tweeted some scriptures. I'm like, okay, we understand. You're going to the World Cup. You see 1 or 2 of them. Need a lot. But those who are not happy, we haven't seen a lot of tweets coming in at the moment. Yeah, so I say fairly. Those who are going there for the first time are those who really, really love it. And guess what? This is a very inexperienced squad. And because aside Andre and Jordan Ayuel, really all of them are going to the World Cup for the first time. So first kickoff? We play on the 24th of November. That is next week Thursday. It's not far away. We play against Portugal, and Portugal.
So help us, Lord. Cristiano Ronaldo is firing himself up by getting angry with Manchester United and all. But the World Cup is full of surprises too. If you can take your chances, so I hope that we can go out there and surprise the world like we always do at every World Cup. Except that in 2014 the surprises were more towards ourselves. Yeah. Normally the first game is important. And if you can pick a point or 3 points against Portugal, you can move from here. I tell everybody, they ask me, George, so where are we likely to finish? Are we making it past the group stage, for instance? Then I just tell them, first targets for the Black Stars, and this should be right in their heads, is get a point or 3 from the Portugal game. And then I'll roll in with the next targets. We'll leave all of the excitement. And we need to talk about Joy Prime and what Joy Prime has to offer. It's going to be showing 28 games in the World Cup. It's going to be buzzing, and you know how we do it all the time. There's going to be behind-the-scenes stuff. We're going to have guys on the ground here in Ghana. There'll be some great, wonderful viewing centers and everything that comes with the World Cup, especially when the Black Stars are right in there. But give your heart some space. It could be tough. And George will be in the midst of the action, so expect more from the Joy Sports team. George Adu Jr., thank you for joining us. And of course, you're still with us here on The Pulse. We'll be back shortly. You're welcome back. They were police as India custody a 45-year-old man suspected to have been selling fake and unwholesome drugs to the unsuspecting public. The unregistered licensed drug dealer, who is known to be a man identified as Emmanuel, owns God's Blessing Herbal Shop and was arrested by the FDA personnel from the Upper West office. JoyNews Upper West regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has more from Wa.
According to the acting Upper West Regional Director of the Food and Drugs Authority, Calvin Dafari, his outfit had a tip-off from the World magazine where the alleged fake drug dealer for weeks has been plying his trade, and they quickly mounted a search for him.
So we traced and went to the World magazine, and he saw us and ran away. So we mounted surveillance on him, and we had him around 9 p.m. yesterday in the night. He was somewhere selling the drugs. When we caught him, we brought him to this place. We asked of where his manufacturing facility is. Initially, he was very resistant, but we pleaded and employed all our techniques. Then he brought us here. So when he brought us here, we saw that, as you can see, it's a single room. He does the production, he does everything in this room.
It was also revealed that the 45-year-old owner of God's Blessing Herbal, Bapure Dao Emmanuel, started the act as Dismissal number 2 in the Wonchi municipality, where he claimed the market was not good, hence his relocation to the Upper West region. Further investigations revealed that he is not a licensed drug dealer, nor the drugs registered.
So we asked whether the product was registered. He even told us that the product was registered. So we asked for the registration certificate or registration letter from the Food and Drug Authority. Lo and behold, he gave us an agenda, a program agenda that he attended in Bono region. And that was the program agenda he's using and telling people that Food and Drug Authority has registered his products. So when we checked the products, we realized that it's one product in different containers and he's using different labels to put on it. So one product by different labels, 7 is marketing them as a cure for different conditions. So you'll pick this one and attach it. This one is for diabetes, this one is for hepatitis. Meanwhile, it's one drug that he's selling.
Despite caught in the act and the unlicensed and insanitary facility used to manufacture the alleged fake drugs, Bapure Dao Emmanuel is still defiant, touting the efficacy and potency of his products.
Is doing so many things. If someone is paid by some waste, somebody is paid by some part of the body, and he used this ointment to apply the part, is about 30 minutes. If the part is still paining the fellow, then you will see anyone want to buy some from me. Tell the fellow that it's a trick and not the medicine I'm selling.
Are you registered?
Are
you registered with
I'm not your registered.
He has since been handed over to the World Police for further investigations. The acting Upper West Regional Director of the Food and Drugs Authority has this advice for the public.
They should be wary of these people. Or you see someone peddling drugs, we're not even allowed to peddle drugs. So we should resist from buying drugs from peddlers. If you are sick and you want drugs, please go to a pharmacy or you go to a licensed over-the-counter medicine seller and buy your drugs. Let's resist from buying drugs from people who go around selling drugs. Even if they tell you that they are licensed, this man, can you imagine that he was moving around with an agenda of a program that Food and Drugs Authority has organized as a registration certificate? So you don't do that. So the public should be very aware of people like this. And when they see them, please, they should try and report them to the office of the Food and Drugs Authority.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
You go do.
Now, let's turn our attention to politics. 52-year-old businessman Abdul Nasir Sani has been retained as the Upper West Regional Chairperson of the National Democratic Congress, polling some 227 votes to defeat his challenger, Adam Al-Hassan Randi, who polled 157 votes. The Regional Secretary of the party, Charles Loga Puzin, also retained his position, actually flaming out the ambition of the former regional youth organizer, Nicodemus Derry. There's more from this report.
4 years ago, the Limairi-Boro starlet Abdul Nasir Sani entered the chairmanship contest as a clear favorite, competing against a weakened and underperformed incumbent chairman who lost everything, including 4 parliamentary seats to the MPP in the 2016 election and won by a landslide. This election is therefore a referendum on the leadership of Abdul Nasir Sani, popularly known as Chairman Bonas. The dynamics of this election is however different, with varied interest from several stalwarts and financiers of the party whose names are not on the ballot papers but want to pull strings in the party for their personal interest. Chairman Bonas, however, wants the status quo to remain focused on the party's project of winning all 11 parliamentary seats, coupled with an increased presidential votes for the party, given another 4-year mandate. His lone challenger, 42-year-old business project consultant Adams Alassane Randy, agrees. However, he wants a change in the chief's captainship. 384 delegates have the mandate to decide their fate. The choreographed arrangement of the voting hall did little to reduce the tension and deep-seated rift. The highest point was when Adams Randy stepped up to exchange pleasantries with the high table and was given a cold shoulder. Former Defense Minister and Chairman of the Council of Elders of the NDC, Alhaji Mohammed Risu, was admonishing the delegates to do the needful, went in for the jugular of the ruling MPP.
We are a family. We can never do anything right if we are not united. Look at the present government we have today, the disorder in NPP, because there is no rule for them to follow. Let us conduct this Congress, this election with honesty. Don't go and nominate or select people who cannot lead us.
After close to 3 hours of voting and sorting of the ballots, Upper West Regional Director of the Electoral Commission, Ali Osmanu Adamu, declared the results, retaining Bonas as the NDC Regional Party's chair, together with his scribe, lawyer Charles Luanga Pozun, who defeated Old Foe and former regional youth organizer Nicodem was there.
Charles Luanga Pozun polled 233 votes. Nicodemus NBD Derry polled 151 votes, and Charles Luanga Pozun is declared the winner of the election. Abdul Nasser Sani polled 227 votes, and Al Hassan Adams polled 157 votes. No rejected votes. 384 people cast the vote.
United we stand, divided we fall. I'm opening my doors to call on whoever. There's no loser, there's no winner. We have all won. NDC has won. So now our main aim and target and objective is to take the 11 seats as we promised to the people of Upper West.
There was no space for consensual speech because at the time that the results were announced, all the vanquished and their supporters have left the voting hall. A clear sign that the NDC is deeply and dangerously divided. The first task for the new chairman is for him to bring both sides together.
We also pledge to bring together all aspirants who contested and were not lucky to be victorious back into the fold to enable us to work properly. You will know that those of us who have been retained, it is based on hard work that we put in, and we will continuously work hard to enable us win election 2024.
The election, however, produced 4 casualties. They included incumbent regional organizer and former war mayor Isaku Nupotia, who lost to his deputy Menabahara Thomas, whilst Isaac Ntejere returned to the communication office after 4-year hiatus, defeating incumbent Prosper Poere. Haji Cecilia Hamza bows out as the Upper West Regional Women's Organizer after 12 years to pave way for an anointed successor, Haji Maimuna Mahama Yahya, who served as one of her deputies. The 38 delegates, however, has other ideas and went in for other deputy, Pesca Paul.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
So help me God.
And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed Sogah. We'll see you again tomorrow. We go for a short break. After that, we have Let's Talk Showbiz. Please stay.